All right. I am so excited, so honored to have Bill Dolan here on the Move Happy Movement podcast.
Ooh, thanks, Erin. It's great to be with you.
Absolutely. For those that, aren't connected with you already, haven't, heard about you and your story, why don't you share a brief, little background and what really got you to where you are today?
Well, it's kind of an interesting story. Like most people's lives, twists and turns. I started out, growing up a an oldie child. So I got a lot of time to spend trying to figure out what entertained me. And it turned out I liked music, I liked movies and things like that. And it ended up really planting a seed for me to want to get in the entertainment industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very, very fortunate. We didn't have a ton of money and a lot of money saved to go to fancy schools, but I went to a regional college here, studied television, and really by, I would say, the grace of God, I got an internship at my dream station, and that was the ABC affiliate here.
Wow.
And after my internship, and there's a story there, I'll save that for another time, that involves cookies, and involves just working my fanny off. On the last
Mm-hmm.
day of my internship, when I was 20 years old, I got hired. And I I literally walked in the job of my dreams, and I was mentored. I got to work with celebrities and great directors and great agencies, and it just raised me up to help me not only grow, to have a career, but also grow as an artist.
Mm-hmm.
And in the meantime, I married my high school sweetheart. We ended up
Aw.
having 5 children, and it was really out of that need that we thought, man, having kids is not cheap. I've
Yeah.
got to figure out some alternative ways to make money. And that's where I started doing my side hustle, which really turned into our agency, Spirit Media.
Mm.
And so Spirit Media really grew out of my passion for media, my
Mhm.
passion for the arts, my passion to tell stories through video and experiences, and way to cover the cost of raising kids.
Mm.
That simple.
I love it. I love it. 5 kids. Wow. Yeah, you guys are definitely busy for sure.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. Awesome. Well, and that really ties into the first question, honestly. So, Move Happy first pillar is all about mindset. And, as a parent, as a
Mhm.
business person, and a professional in the industry of entertainment, you've learned tips and tricks along the way to keep your insanity and really be able to, keep your focus. So what are some tips that you've learned on keeping a positive mindset? Maybe for someone that's interested in getting in entertainment or,
Mhm.
starting their own family or marketing agency.
Well, I'd love to tell you that, I just picked up some books and was mentored by pillars of wisdom. And the
Mm-hmm.
truth is, I've been very blessed to be around a lot of great people.
Mm-hmm.
And I've learned little bits from all of them. Like I tell a story when I directed a project with President Clinton. And I was amazed what he taught me about presence and looking in the eyes and being there. I tell stories about directing a show with Gwen Stefani, and what I learned about the power of charisma and the fact that
Mm-hmm.
some people have things. I worked with the Black Eyed Peas, and the thing I learned from them was their passion, especially Will.i.am, for
Mm-hmm.
excellence.
Mm-hmm.
Excellence and setting a standard and being uncompromising in that standard. Um, there's a, there's so many people and mentors I've learned from, but I will have to say that as kind of fun and cool as those are, my greatest lessons have come through my failures. For example, I talked about my dream job.
Mm-hmm.
It was crazy, but I ended up actually getting fired from that job after 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I got fired in large part because I didn't know how to I guess, manage myself, manage my priorities, understand my
Mm-hmm.
limits. I actually, yeah, yeah, I won't go into all the details other than I deserved to be fired. I really did.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a hard lesson because I can say I wasn't in the right mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that mindset had to do with, I can do it. You give me anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a really powerful lesson to realize how fallible I was and then I
Mm-hmm.
needed to really think about what was really valuable. Of course, the other thing was 7 years later, to the day of me getting fired, I had a situation where I was flying to Nashville. Oh, I love Nashville. Great, great city. But 20 minutes in that flight, I turned to my buddy, who was a great gospel singer. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't feeling right. And my eyes rolled back in my head and my arms flopped by my side and I died. And I
Mm-hmm.
had a death experience. Um, and
Mm-hmm.
if at any point up to that point, I started to think, I'm feeling cocky, I've got it under control,
Mm-hmm.
it's up to me. I found out that I had limits.
Mm-hmm.
And more important, I realized that there are things that are really important in this world that I needed not just think about, I needed to live. And the number one thing about for me as a mindset was what's really important. And of course, when you have a death experience, I mean, if you weren't a little spiritual before, you get a little spiritual,
Yeah.
and you get really reflective. Relationships with the divine, relationship with yourself,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then how do you express that relationship to others? And probably my biggest regret, I mean, I'm thankful for that I came back because I had a profound experience, crazy, wonderful experience. Um, was that I realized that while I loved the people around me, I didn't always express it. And I thought, I came back from that saying, I will never let a day go by without letting the people in my life know how madly in love I am with them.
That's beautiful.
And so that they'll never question, they'll
Mm-hmm.
never wonder. And while I'm fallible and I make stupid mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
I will always let the people in my world know I love them and try to be in that place. And that includes me,
Mm-hmm.
which is, I think, is a breakthrough mindset. Um, is that while I want to love and be a friend to others, I need to love and be a friend to me. And I have been abusive to me. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
seriously. I grew up in an environment where my father was ill. He was very old school and he was very verbally abusive.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about verbal abuse or even physical abuse, tragically, it works. If you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to get to conform behaviors, it works, but it's damaging and it's
Yeah.
destructive. But I adapted those behaviors because they worked on
Mm-hmm.
me, to me. Um, and it's really after my death experience, this slow revelation that having a mindset of loving others and respecting others,
Mm-hmm.
I got to do that to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's been a game changer, a big game changer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that self-love and affirmations and really expressing that to yourself is so key. So
Yeah.
key. Thank you for sharing that. I had goosebumps when you were sharing about that. That's an incredible story that you've been through. So your strength to be able to speak about it and to move forward is incredible. So thank you. Appreciate that.
Oh, I appreciate it's great to have to be here. But
Yeah.
know this, that when I talk, a lot of people when they hear about someone who died and came back,
Mm-hmm.
we go through life many times thinking, what's the worst thing could happen? What's the
Mm-hmm.
worst thing could happen? We go, oh, worst thing could
Yeah.
happen, you could die. And I can tell you with all confidence, it's a much longer show that I won't go into, but I'll just say this. It's the best thing that ever happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
Best thing that ever happened to me. Um, I understood things I never understood. I
Mm-hmm.
felt things I never felt. Um, and it changed me in such a powerful way, such a powerful way. A lot of times I'll go, I wrote a book that was really triggered by that. that talks about relationship marketing. And I sometimes I speak in college class, I speak to business groups, and I usually start off by saying, look, after what I experienced, I honestly wish all of y'all could die and then come back. Because
Right.
once you've crossed the threshold of eternity, it changes how you live.
Yeah.
And it makes things, it's like, oh my gosh, it is so exciting. And it has, from a mindset standpoint, I can tell you that it's changed my trajectory
Mm-hmm.
about my life and about life in general. Um,
Mm-hmm.
when I work with a lot of people in the aviation industry. I have clients in the aviation. I'm on a board of a group that does aviation charitable stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
on the plane, there is a one dial among many, but it's called the attitude. And the attitude is basically saying, are you nose down or nose up? Because wherever you point your nose is going to be the direction the plane goes.
Mm-hmm.
So attitude down, you're going to hit the ground. Attitude
Mm-hmm.
up, you're going to go into the clouds.
Yeah.
And that is so practical that if you take into fact, I spent a lot of time actually reading a lot of holy books of philosophy, but there's this great piece in uh, written by Paul of Tarsus, who was a follower of Jesus, and he had this thing about taking captive your thoughts, and the idea of thinking about these things that are good and are noble and are wonderful. He listed these things that was like the first, really one of the great mindset coaches of the ancient times. And it just made me think, we have so much to be thankful for. We
Mm-hmm.
have so much to look forward to. And no matter what you're experiencing right now, um, it's going to get better and you're
Mm-hmm.
going to be stronger. And everything you have experienced up to this moment hasn't been a waste. It has been building blocks, building the launching pad for the
Mm-hmm.
next launch for whatever you're doing in the next season of life. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like when we're talking before, I'm so excited about you, Erin, and the things that you're doing and going, wow, you are so on an exciting launch pad into a season of impacting lives and making a lasting difference. And it's probably a whole bunch of good things and a whole bunch of heartache that brought you to this moment. And it's all
Mm-hmm.
been good.
Thank you. Absolutely, 100%. Awesome. Well, thank you for those practical tips on mindset. And second pillar of Move Happy is about building community, and you kind of touched on it, honestly, with the tragedy that you went through, and that you perceive now as the best, one of the best things that's happened to you.
Yeah.
What are some practical tips and strategies you've learned along the way, whether it's, in your professional or personal experience, on the importance of building community, and how can you help maybe someone else that's a few steps behind you to get on that journey as well?
Well, that's a great question. It's a great question because let me just start, and I mentioned it in my book. Relationships are hard. Human dynamics are hard. Human dynamics in your own life is hard, let alone human dynamics with others. Because, I mean, it'd be great if everybody was sane and healthy. We're not. We've
Mhm,
got stuff going on. And
mhm,
so when you talk about building community, first is the willingness to say, um, I'm willing to step in my imperfect self and to
mhm,
walk into an imperfect world. But to be able to walk through that process together, and I really have two things I could throw out at you. I want to be sensitive to time, but let me start with this: is that that giving people grace is the
mhm,
recognition that we're all in some form of transition.
mhm,
Sometimes good is bad, but transition. And I love the story. In fact, we always talk about this beautiful metaphor of the butterfly. The butterfly is transforming and it
yeah,
flies, and we watch it flap its wings. We turn it into these beautiful pillows and posters. But let's look at the reality of what's happening with a
mhm,
butterfly. I mean, it starts out as a caterpillar. Okay? As low to the ground as you can get, as their little legs will take them. And for a season, all they do is consume. They eat and eat and eat and eat, but they eat. There's a season of consuming because it's a season of preparation. And at the point at which they dial into this, I'm going to build a cocoon and step into it. There's three things that happen inside that cocoon. Now, the first thing that happens is that those powerful digestive juices that have been a part of the caterpillar that's helped them process this massive amount of food turns on the caterpillar and starts consuming pieces of its body that it has to let go of.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing is that there's parts of the caterpillar's organs that literally change into organs that now can be adapted for that of a flying animal now.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a third thing that happens, and there's this transformation that happens where they actually develop things that never existed before, like wings. So if you think about you and me and anybody listening to this podcast, we're in the process of either season of preparation, a season of destroying things that should no longer be a part of us,
Mm-hmm.
a season of changing things to become better, and a season of transformation to introduce skills and opportunities we might have never had. And it's a beautiful process, except for this. Caterpillars get a cocoon, and we don't.
Mm-hmm.
We literally have to look at each other and witness this hideous process in the mirror and in community
Mm-hmm.
every day. So again, trying to honor this concept of mindset, community, absolutely. But recognize we're walking into a community of um, cocooned,
Mm-hmm.
transforming beings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they're going through some pain and wonder and change. Um, and then from there, it's really recognizing the unique and powerful role we have in relationships. Um, well, I mentioned I went to TV school, but while I got my new dream job when I was 20 years old, I kept on and went to school, and I was actually a psych major because
Mm-hmm.
the connection between media and psychology and communication, it's so interrelated.
Mm-hmm.
I loved the difference, unique difference between psychology and sociology, because they tell us a little bit about the type of community
Yeah.
where psychology gives you this unique opportunity to have a profound impact on a small number of people.
Mm-hmm.
Where sociology gives you an opportunity to have a small impact on a profound number of people.
Mm-hmm.
And so recognizing the role we play, there's going to be some where we are just a powerful force of light in their life to be a transformative resource of healing and hope and encouragement and connection. And then there's others, for example, in the LinkedIn community or the social media communities, or
Mm-hmm.
on a stage somewhere where a musical artist can pour their heart out
Mm-hmm.
to millions of people. And you
Yeah.
realize, you know what? It means I'm not going to hold you tonight when you're hurting. It doesn't mean I'm going to hold your hand when you're having to go to the doctor or a clinic or when you've experienced death or desperation. But it means I can whisper a little word of hope
Yeah.
through this. And that's where I see the dynamics of community.
Mm-hmm.
It's really personal as to, do we need it? Yes. But recognize the unique role that we play on those lives and decide how community looks for you.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Great tips, great practical tips. And you're absolutely true with the fact that we are human beings that are consistently transforming through the process of learning in life. And sometimes it's not so pretty. So I appreciate that share. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of the time it's not pretty.
Absolutely. So third pillar of Move Happy, of course, is movement related. And, It started in a background in a psychiatric hospital, very low budget. I was working with patients in active treatment, and I was told we had about 15 of us staff and about $100 a month for shopping or whatnot, for our patients to provide them treatment. So it was about $10 a month per staff member, and I wanted to help the patients provide a positive experience for them in fitness, exercise, provide them some sort of motivation to want to move their body, because I knew how beneficial it was for their mental health and well-being, and also when they got discharged, if they did. And so kind of with that in mind, low budget, what are some of your favorite, whether it's physical activities, movements, sports related, dance, that don't really cost a lot of money?
Well, it's funny you said it. I chuckle at the dance part because while I think it is a beautiful activity, I actually have people who don't want to see me dance. So that's not on my list. And it's tragically
No
because they
worries.
have seen me dance, and that's my kids. So I get the, oh, dad. Um, and I love that piece that you do. And I was reading about your background and the way you are implementing that as really a part of wholeness and healing. It reminds me that we're all body, mind, and spirit. We're a package. We're an inseparable package. And so for me, and it really, I'll tell you a tiny story, is that I grew up, in high school and falling in love with soccer and playing soccer. But once you get into career stuff, and I was just consumed by television and events and shows and all that, my physical activity went boom down. And I started gaining weight, and I wasn't eating healthy, because when you eat on the run, you eat convenient, and often convenient food is not always healthy food.
Yeah.
So that whole combination, and I wasn't sleeping. And I was stressed a lot. So stress, bad diet, poor movement, and no rest. I mean, it is a prescription for a downhill slide.
Mm-hmm.
And but one of the things that happened a few years ago is my father passed away. And when he passed away, and I say this respectfully, he had a lot of issues. I mean, going back to even when I was a little kid, and he was miraculously lived through that, but he had a lot of issues. And I remember the day I watched his passing, and it was at home with hospice. And I thought, there's no doctor there to sign the little paper to say cause of death. Okay. Mm-hmm. But if I were to sign that paper, it would have said died of decisions. Because he made a lot of unhealthy decisions, including his diet. He chose to smoke, and the exercise piece. And so that hit me that day, that said, I never want to die of decisions.
Yeah.
And so I realized I needed to lose weight. And so I changed my diet, started eating healthier. And I actually joined a CrossFit gym. And beat the crud out of me, I'll tell you that.
Yes, it does.
And I started doing that. And even though it was exhausting, and I'm not a kid anymore, even though I might look like a kid. I mean, technically, so for the record, January 28th is my 21st rebirth day. I now celebrate my rebirth day. So I'm 21. Woo woo.
I love it. Happy early.
Thank you. Woohoo. So I've recognized that every single day I have to think about what that activity looks like. And if I can't get in the CrossFit gym, for example, let's say I'm in a hotel, I do have a ritual. And it is to do 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, and 100 squats. And so I do 25 at a time. And I might go in the gym. But you could do that in your hotel room. No jumping, no freaking, like anything like that. Doesn't make any noise, but it protects my core.
Mm-hmm.
Gives me a little aerobic action. I mean, one of the things, I should say this, after my heart stopped, I ended up getting a pacemaker. And
Okay.
so now I have a pacemaker. So it keeps my pacemaker in great shape. I love that. The doctors love that. And um, in fact, I check off every day. In fact, I haven't done my push-ups today. As soon as we get done, I'm going to be doing my push-ups and my squats.
Excellent.
So, so those long answer to what I want. It's the piece of my physical activity,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm going to get back and spend some more time in the CrossFit gym again.
I love it. I love it. It sounds like a little combination of all three pillars of fitness,
Mhm.
cardio, muscle fitness, and a little flexibility. I'm assuming you do some stretching, some dynamic stretches probably in the
Yeah.
CrossFit gym, some leg kicks or whatnot. So excellent.
In
Love
fact,
it. Love
in
it.
fact, I did join a. I'm not there now, but I learned some techniques by joining a Bikram yoga, and I did some Bikram yoga for what, which I loved the heat. Um, I think they were anxious for me to move on to CrossFit because I was distracting because I kept flopping over during the class. It was a little awkward. You know?
I had an experience in a hot yoga class. I don't know if it was Bikram, but it wasn't for me. Asthma, it was a little tight on the lungs, but I like to try new things. So
Yeah.
to each our own, and I saw the nice, 9 month pregnant woman next to me kicking ass, and I wasn't quite there, but you know what? I don't know how long she was in there, so no judgment to anyone else on their journey. It's all a process, right? We're all on our own journey.
I'll tell you, go to a yoga class, and they'll teach you to give grace and hope that you get
Yep.
grace. That's for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, great, great. That's excellent to know what you like, and it's also, fun fact in alignment with what is recommended for, general health and fitness. So excellent. Um, what are you really passionate about right now that we can support you with? Whether you've got, product or service, or I know you mentioned your book. What are you excited about going on right now?
Well, I'd have to say, yeah, my book. It's interesting after my experience, my death experience.
Mhm.
I think everybody would love to think that, oh, you have an experience, it's like flipping on the switch and everything changes. No, we're always in a process. And I'd love to, yeah, I wasn't that smart. I really had to learn and process the things that I experienced. But it was from that death experience that I found a way to weave together um, both this idea of of love, of deep, deep love that I experienced in that, and the fact that I grew up in television and marketing. And I thought it seems like over here on the sales side, we're busy like selling people and pushing people and doing these
Mhm.
transactions. But deep down at the heart of the human experience is the desire to love and be loved. And
Mhm.
why is there this gap? And what would it look like if those things came together? And it was a lot of study. And I mean, there's way more to it that I could go into. But after that, I found this connection. And I saw that relationship marketing is really aligned with how we want to be related to, how we want to be able to connect with people. That business and life does not have to be, this transactional,
Mhm.
rigid, kind of ugly space from 9 to 5, in
Mhm.
hopes that we make enough money that we can be saints from 5 to 9. It
Mhm.
doesn't have to be that way. Doesn't have to be this life balance. There can be a life blend.
Mhm.
And so out of that, I studied and I came up, I discovered really 7 disciplines that are foundational to relationship marketing. Now, in the book, I also talk about my death experience, what I experienced, and then I talk about some really practical things that I've learned working in the entertainment industry. I talk about some lessons I learned even doing real estate marketing and working with President Obama on uh, some projects of public relations. And
Mm-hmm.
I hope that people will get the book because um, I guess when I look back before I died, if I had left this world, people would remember me and they'd say, "Oh, that was neat," or "What a nice guy," or "What a nice dad," or whatever
Mm-hmm.
like that. I think that, but I feel like this book is not only crazy practical and helpful for anybody who's going to be in communication and marketing, but it's a love letter.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a love letter from me to my family. It's a love letter to me to my community. It's a love letter to the world. That there's a better way.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope, I mean, the book's called 7 DRM, the 7 Disciplines of Relationship Marketing. And so if anybody's interested, to go to 7drm.com. And we released the Kindle book. We released an audio book. Um, and all the stuff will route you to Amazon where you can buy. I also have free
Mm-hmm.
resources. So if you go on the site, there's resources you can download. So whether you read the book or not, there's some stuff that you can take and use.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually, what I'm really excited about this year is with all the clients I've been sharing this with, they're like, how do I take this back to my team? How do I do this? How do I do this?
Yeah.
And so we've developed a video course, and the video course is coming out this winter 2020. And we'll announce that on social media. We'll announce it on 7DRM. So if you go to 7DRM and say, "Oh, I want to sign up for the email," then we'll keep you posted. And I'm just so excited. Um, if no one buys a book, that's no big deal. But if people can take to heart this transformational message,
Mm-hmm.
I am thrilled. That is really my legacy. My children, and for people to genuinely love themselves and love others,
Yeah.
to live that would be the most
Mm-hmm.
important thing I would share.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's beautiful. I love it. So people need to go to your website. And if they're not on the website, if they want to connect with you on social media, LinkedIn, is that the best one for them to
Yeah,
connect with you on? Okay.
LinkedIn is the best way. And I think I'm listed as Bill Dolan there.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. And everyone needs to order your book. I don't care what you said. They need to sign up, order it, and sign up for the wait list for that course. I'm really excited about that 7DRM. And lastly, silly question. I like to keep things light so people can kind of see you on a personal level and whatnot. So total impromptu. We didn't discuss any of this before, but just from what you've kind of shared, you mentioned caterpillars and random, well, it wasn't random, but it was very specific with the transformational process. But what is your favorite animal and why?
Well, my favorite animal is probably my personal animal, and I
Mm,
love my cat.
okay.
I cats. Um, well, and I said, and I'm with all due respect to dog people, because I grew up with dogs,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a horrible example. But someone could walk into where I grew up, walk into the house, and shoot me, but hand my dog a steak, and the dog would be just fine. But with a cat, you've got to earn their love.
Mm-hmm. So true.
There is no, "Oh, here's a cat." You just fed them, now they like you. And so I have a very special relationship with my cat, Marcella. And actually, in my book,
Love
I
that.
I mentioned Marcella because every night that I sat actually here, right here in this very spot,
Mm.
writing out my book, Marcella sat right next to me and would just
Oh.
like sit by my side. And so I have a special affinity for cats for that reason.
Yeah, it's so cute. That's lovely. Thank you for sharing that. Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for taking the time out of your day to be a part of the Move Happy podcast.
It is an honor. And anytime you want to have me on again, or next time I'm in
Hmm.
Nashville, I definitely want to come see you.
Sounds good. You just let me know.
Thanks, Erin.